Hi again, and I previously reviewed Starship Troopers, which is a sci-fi book, and I mentioned that I did enjoy reading sci-fi for several years when I was growing up, and some of the writers were really serious on the subject. For example, Hoyle and Kornbluth used to write together, and I think sometimes separately. Well, Fred Hoyle was a noted, probably the eminent astrophysicist of the time, and he was responsible for, I think it was called the steady state theory of the universe, which was supplanted by the Big Bang theory. But you know that what he brought to the table in his writing was very solid knowledge. But then you had other guys who churned out the stuff in sort of kind of a pulp fiction manner, very high volume writing in the magazines and the books, and but nevertheless could be very, very entertaining. The book that I'd like to discuss today is Wasp by Eric Frank Russell. Eric Frank Russell was born in England, and he wrote under a couple of pseudonyms as well, and not always just on sci-fi. But as Eric Frank Russell, he wrote quite a few really good books. In one book, he created a philosophy called diabologic, which was a kind of weaponized logic that leaves your enemy totally bewildered and befuddled. And it was one of the most amusing books, and it's certainly worth reading. Wasp is the story of James Mowry, M-O-W-R-Y, who, although being a citizen of the planet Terra, was brought up on Syria, not the Middle East country, but the planet Syria, whose people look a little bit different, but with a bit of surgery and modification, he could look like a Syrian, but could certainly pass for one because he spoke the language and knew the culture. So he gets recruited to infiltrate Syria, who are the enemy of Terra. And one of the analogies his recruiter uses is a wasp flying inside the cab of a large truck, and the driver is swatting at it, loses concentration, loses control, and the truck is wiped out. And in effect, a tiny insect has been able to effect a massive catastrophic accident. So that analogy is they send a single operator into the enemy planet, and by various means, propaganda, sabotage and so on, he's going to spread discontent and actually start an uprising. The secret police of Syria are called the Kai Tempai, which is really a scrambling of the Japanese secret police, the Kempeitai, who were sort of Japanese Gestapo during World War II. So there's interesting little things like that. And one of the things that intrigued me when I first read the book was our hero at night time has these transfers, and he puts them on large plate glass windows, and there's a chemical on them which etches a subversive message into the glass, and he does this all over the capital city. And then the next day these messages are there, appearing as if by magic, and the glass has to be destroyed, and it causes economic and also resentment damage. And I thought it was really interesting. And it was only when I was reviewing the SOE books, and I found that the SOE had actually developed that, and it was used in occupied territories. It was a way of etching subversive messages on glass. So I was quite surprised to find that that was a real technique. Wasp, although it's science fiction, it's not science fantasy. It's it's only a slight alteration of the normal society. So you don't have to make great leaps, and in fact, it works as a spy story. You kind of forget that it's science fiction, really. There's a lot of humor in it, and a lot of tension, and it's a really well told tale, and it's one I've always recommended to people. Even if you don't like science fiction, it's a book you can enjoy. You can enjoy it just on its own merits. So I've always enjoyed it. I reread it recently for this review, and found it stood the test of time. So I recommend it.